This is a
radio show.
Brought to you by Phillipson's Classroom Productions.
Would you kill yourself if you were the last person on Earth?
How would you feel if you were stuck in a room without any human contact for a long period of time?
Could you replace your friend with a computer or electronic device?
What if you would never talk to another human before?
These are a few questions you usually wouldn't ask yourself.
The normal thought process for a day is something along the lines of, do I have a test tomorrow? I have to study, what am I going to do for dinner tonight? But you normally don't want to ask yourself, what would you do if you were all alone? And what would you do if you didn't have that human interaction?
We take for granted the people that are around us, but really, how much do we need them in our lives, and how important are the people around you?
We are around people all the time and we depend on each other, don't we?
Don't you think that you would develop differently if you didn't have human interaction or human touch?
There are people that do believe that if they do not get human touch, especially as infants and growing as children, I don't know if it's necessarily a disorder, but it's definitely personality. I think people believe that gets affected. Innately, your personality has some kind of genetic component, but your environment also plays a factor in it.
For those of you who don't know, this is Miss Levenberg speaking, the school's health teacher.
So there is a belief that if you do not get shown love, touch, expression, when you're younger, it will affect you for the future. You do not know how to relate to it and also show it as well.
Okay, so basically, if I had a lack of human interaction, my personality would be different.
There's one disorder that comes to mind is attachment disorder and reactive attachment. There are various attachment disorders from being mistreated or neglected as a child, and it affects people's relationships and behavior and just their lives in general for the rest of their lives.
This is Jen Walker, the school psychologist speaking.
Where they may reject love and care from other people. They may seek it in healthy ways or unhealthy ways, like attention seeking and negative attention seeking and doing bad things. They may really feel so angry at other people that they then act out towards other people and hurt other people.
If people didn't pay enough attention to me and if they didn't interact enough with me, I feel like I might seek that negatively.
I feel like I would be fine because I have other things that I could do, like read a book or something when somebody doesn't pay attention to me.
Yeah, but you've never wanted to get anybody's attention?
Not really.
Tried to do something
No.
so they would interact with you? Bang a pot on the counter?
Well, see, it's not only just banging a pot on the counter. Some people might act violent towards them.
Push your brother down the stairs?
Yeah, exactly. Something like that might actually happen just so that you get attention. If you feel like your parents didn't pay any attention to me at all when I was younger, I didn't have any friends at all when I was younger, it affects me now.
Or you would just ignore other people and try to replace them with something else, such as technology or your phone or books or something you like to do. You would probably just replace them.
The reason of those books is probably that you're reading those books so that you can escape the world that you're in now, so that you can be in a world where you do have friends. So basically, it's just a horrible replacement because all you're doing is trying to fuel your neediness for other people. Human interaction is so important that if people are lacking it, they feel like they need to replace it with something.
We talked to a few people and asked them how long they had gone without human interaction and how hard they would think it would be. Can you tell me a time that you went for an extended period of time without human interaction?
Well, without any human interaction, probably maybe an hour. It wasn't that easy. It's pretty hard.
So you think it's hard? You too?
Yes. I love humans. Humans are life.
Humans are everywhere.
Humans are everywhere. That's a fact. You can't argue with it.
And because they're everywhere, we might have been brainwashed into the idea that we need them.
This is proven by the fact that people wouldn't voluntarily stay away from other people and keep themselves isolated for a long period of time by themselves.
What was the longest period of time you went without being with anybody, like talking to them and having contact with them?
God. I don't. 3 weeks ago when I did homework for 6 hours by myself.
So the only reason you were by yourself was because you were kind of forced to because of homework.
Yeah, basically.
So voluntarily you would.
Voluntarily for like a long period of time.
Can you think of a period of time, or like the longest period of time when you went without, like, interacting with people?
What I worked on was a day.
A day? Do you remember why you didn't talk to anybody for a day?
I think it was because I lost my voice too, so I couldn't speak at all, and also because my dog was really sick. So I was just very like, okay, I don't want to talk to anyone.
What was like the longest amount of time you went without talking to someone or without seeing someone?
Can you think of a time?
Huh, that's a good question. Without talking or communicating, because I was sick in high school and didn't have a voice for about 3 months, and I couldn't talk. So
How did
that
that
would,
like affect you? And
well, I was a teenager, so if you can imagine, like, the frustration of not being able to communicate verbally, but I, like, could write, so I could communicate. And I've worked with young people in the past that are nonverbal, and that I think I've seen how difficult that can be. But as far as me so there are moments in my life, like nights, that I would love not to have to talk to anyone. Leave me alone, let me watch TV, read a book, right? I would crave that many nights, but for the most part, that would be the exception, not what I would always want. I guess the last time that I feel like I didn't talk to people or communicate must be like when I was sick or something.
this proves the point that no one would put their self in a position where they would be isolated from other people. They would only stay away from people for a long period of time if they were forced to, because they had to do homework or they lost their voice.
I mean, I don't agree with that point. The point that you're making, because I feel like I would want to be alone by myself, and when I'm not forced to, or not just because like I lost my voice or.
Look at all the
something.
evidence we have.
Well, there are exceptions.
How long have you gone without human interactions? Is there a specific time?
I think 3 days.
3 days.
Yeah.
What were you doing during these 3 days? How long do you think that you could last without human interaction? Do you think that you could last longer?
Oh, I think, well, are you saying until I go crazy or until
Yeah.
I'm not happy or like last
Kind of
what?
until you lose your sense of sanity.
Oh, I could do a good, probably about, until I lose my sense of sanity. I don't know, I'm pretty self-sufficient. I think maybe I could do 6 months.
So, during these 6 months, do you mean like you would be able to not talk to anyone, like you can't even talk to them through social networks?
Oh, that's absolutely human contact. I would say that disqualifies the experiment. No, I would say completely alone, let's say I'm in a cabin in the woods or something. Yeah, no human contact whatsoever.
Alright.
People need interaction with other people because it's like a necessity, but you also have to balance it with not being with other people.
Well, besides it being a necessity, you just need human interaction to be happy, but you don't always need human interaction.
It's not like you need it 24/7, but
There must be a balance.
You can't be away from people forever.
and some people feel like they can replace it, but that just shows how important it is because they need it so much that they want to replace it with something else.
And when people are with other people for too long, they would also want to be by themselves.
Julia, would you kill yourself if you were the last person on Earth?
Probably.
And Stephanie, would you kill yourself if you were forced to be in a room all by yourself for an extremely long period of time?
Yes, probably.
You were forced into solitary confinement for a certain amount of times, and you had no clue when this time was going to end or if it was ever going to end. You were just alone. It's not like you didn't have anything to do. It was just you. Do you think you would survive, or do you think you would be led to kill yourself?
Like for someone who already has had human or other people interaction, it's kind of hard to not. So if you were put into a space where for a while, yeah, I would most definitely go crazy.
when you are in an enclosed space all alone, you would probably go insane, correct? If you were just in your room all alone with you had no technology.
I think I would never go insane because I'd have books to read. And I'd have
No, exactly. You don't have that stuff. You're in your room, no technology, just like you in your room with your bed, and that's it.
Because if I never leave the room, I'm insane. But like I don't have to function in the modern world because I'm never leaving. You know.
Yeah. I mean, you're in there for a decent amount of time, for years.
3 years. God. Really makes my skin crawl. Yeah, I think I'd go insane.
Yeah, I'd probably go insane too.
You know. I don't know. I don't mean to get dark and like mess with this assignment. But honestly, if I knew I was going to be there forever, I'd kill myself.
You'd really kill yourself?
I think the human experience has to be, how you relate to your world and the people around you. Because there's no world, there's no people around me. Like, what am I doing here? What's the point of me?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think I can handle that.
Think. Really think. Do you think that you could last all alone without any human interaction?
You probably think that you couldn't, because based on what we found out, most people think that they couldn't last even like an hour without people. We talked about solitary confinement before, and we wanted to return to this topic. On National Public Radio,
Michelle Nora. I'm Robert Siegel.
Talked about solitary confinement.
They're put there by state or prison officials who say these inmates are too dangerous for the regular prison. And after spending years and sometimes decades alone, most of these inmates will be released back into the public.
Daoud Toulam spends most of his time out here on the porch of his mother's house.
And Toulam was somebody who was put in solitary confinement.
You might think someone who spent all that time alone would want to spend all his time now talking. But instead, when faced with people, Toulam barely says anything at all.
It's physically possible for a human being to survive alone for a long period of time, such as in solitary confinement.
Like Toulam.
But it will affect you mentally. It can cause you to become depressed. It can give you suicidal thoughts. You can become very socially awkward and have trouble with social interactions and social experiences. And it can really affect the way that you live afterwards. And it can cause you to lose your sanity while you're in solitary confinement or while you're alone.
Yeah, afterwards, once you come out of solitary confinement.
Yeah, after.
Because usually people are released from solitary confinement.
Yes, once people are released and once they're let back into like the normal world and into normal atmosphere, then they normally have these social problems. So it affects you mentally, like, very heavily.
So although we're able to survive without other people, like we saw in this example of somebody who was in solitary confinement, it affects us mentally because we're meant to be around people, and we're used to being around people.
We need human interaction to be mentally healthy.
We need each other.